this is your favorite green-haired girl on the internet. There's probably other green-haired people like me. I sound like I'm an alien. And maybe in a weird way I am. I was dropped into this earth. Like, I don't know where I'm going with this. I just love space. Anyway, hi, I look very much like a mermaid. Little mermaid who? I was robbed of that part, but I'll think about that another day. I am making this because I always wanted to be a music. Well, okay, right now I am a music photojournalist and I just love music. I'm a big music enthusiast. I'm a big music enthusiast. I collect vinyl. I wish I had a lot more than I do now, but I love what I have. I feel like I'm making this channel because I want to continue on with that, but since I don't know how to pave my way into the music industry, and I'm trying to figure out music PR, but don't have any leads at the moment, so I'm just creating a space where I can share my knowledge or my humor into... Oh my god, she's playing the bass now. I just want to share a space where we could talk about music things. I can make skits. Oh my gosh. She's going to mess up. Okay, sorry, my cat jumped on my bed and all my equipment is on my bed. Yeah, so first let me kind of introduce myself. Ironically, my name is Lyra. I tell people it's kind of like lyrics, just with like at the end. So it's kind of like you're singing. There's lyrics, and you're going like Lyra. Yeah, and that's me. That's who I am. Voila. If you do know me, which I'm kind of hoping that you don't, so at least this introduction is like not boring, because I feel like this podcast or whatever is to get to know me, which is always fun. Or if you do know me, you'll learn new things. So it's a win-win either way. But I'm a photographer, but God. I feel like this podcast is here to help me speak better because sometimes my ADHD doesn't allow me to talk in full sentences. So, do you have things to say? Sniff sniff? Meow meow? Now that you know who I am, I also will talk about what I do currently. Currently, I don't have a job. So, A, that's why I'm here starting this. B, I do freelance and I am a concert photographer, which is my joy and passion, honestly, because I love journalism. I love like interviewing musicians and getting to know their process, but also interviewing people that I meet at the concerts, photographing that energy on stage. It's like amazing. And I also do just in general like editorial photography, kind of like with models and la la la. So I would love to like be in a space where I can kind of combine both of those things. Again, we haven't paved the way for myself, so we're trying to figure that out. I mean, I guess that's what Rolling Stone is for. So the end goal, one day, like my dream job is to work for Rolling Stone as like both being like a really fun interviewer that an artist can like chill and relax with, but also capture like that moment in time with that musician. So like doing both and finding new ways to go about music journalism. I also do YouTube occasionally. Like I do have another channel that I need to get back to because I have a lot of stories and films that I want to share. I just have taken a long breather from it. With this, I do want to be more consistent because I just love music that much. And I have a bachelor's degree again, I'm not using it. So I think me doing this helps me try to use it. People have told me to try to get my master's degree, but I'm like, guys, if the bachelor's degree didn't work out, what makes you think I'm going to try to do a master's degree? I do love learning new things, I will say that, but I'll learn things without spending millions things. So now that I know about me, and sorry for the ADHD rants off to the side, if it's like really inconsistent, now you know what my brain is like. It does me good and harm at the same time. Around me is my little music corner. I have my guitars that I need to play more. I have a piano. I don't want to say I used to be a musician because I feel like at heart I still am. I just need to get back into it. I play every now and then, and right now I still dabble in songwriting and making lyrics or poems. So that's also why I just love being in this realm. Next to me is my bass guitar, Paul, because it is Paul McCartney's violin shaped bass. And it just reminds me of how I used to play my cello all the time. I played cello since I was in middle school till like literally the day I graduated high school, and then I didn't have a cello anymore because it was the schools, and I went to college, so I was kind of on my own there, and I haven't touched it since, but I do miss it because I was really good at it. I got it to like all county. I just kept moving up in chairs. Like, if you don't know what that means, is like an orchestra, if you're like the highest chair, like closest to the conductor. Wow, I haven't said these words in a long time. Usually you have to audition for what level chair you're going to be. I would keep moving up, or I moved to advanced orchestras like Chamber Sinfonia from like normal orchestra, and that was really cool because I thought I like flunked that audition. So those were my glory days. That's the only thing I miss about high school, to be honest. But yeah, if I had a cello right now, I would literally be like lo-fi and just creating stuff on the cellos. So I need to do this with my bass. I'm still trying to learn it. I just think of School of Rock with Jack Black. It's like, yeah, hello, it's the cello. Just put it sideways. It kind of is. Just one string is different, but that's too technical. Anyway, I have my guitar, Cherry, named after Amy Winehouse's guitar, and I have my ukulele, which was a graduation present from my grandparents, and her name is Luna. And then my piano, I've played since I was 7 years old, because I have the piano fingers. Yeah, and my piano's name is George, after George Gershwin. What? I was obsessed with George Gershwin when I was about 7 or 8, which was crazy. But like, who's obsessed with George Gershwin at that age? Who even knows who that is anymore? But no, he's phenomenal. He's the reason why I wanted to pick up playing piano, because of Rhapsody in Blue changed my life. I feel like everyone has a song or band or artist that like changes their life, which leads me into perfect segue. What is the one band or song that changed your life? There's something about whatever it is that you're listening to that has that like innate feeling that you're like, yes, riot. I don't know. What am I saying riot for? What are we rioting over? I mean, I guess if it's metal, or I guess like Paramore's Riot. George Gershwin for me was the first song of my life that I just distinctly remember being like, whoa, what? It was just this orchestra of different notes and patterns, and it was like jazz, but like classical, and I was like, that's interesting. Okay, I'm back before my camera rudely interrupted. My tripod was moving, so then the whole scenery just looked like I was living in an earthquake. And I don't live in California, so no. Nothing's wrong with California. I've never been. I really want to. someone wants to fly me out, but I've experienced an earthquake once in my lifetime and I'm not ready to do it again. Now, for like further context, I was raised by like my grandparents and my mom. My grandparents, I got a lot of their musical influences because they loved classical, but then also like jazz and like soul. My mom, she got me into like the Beatles, the Doors, classic rock. Like she did love all kinds of music as well. I think from there, like especially during middle school and high school, I found different artists that no one else really told me about. I just kind of found them through the blessings of the internet, I guess, which was like YouTube back in the early 2000s because of Vivo or whatever. If you remember, you get it. When Facebook was newly a thing. And that kind of tells you how old I am. I remember when it was made, near 30. Not like excited, also. Whoa. So this includes kind of like Amy Winehouse, Lana Del Rey, the Arctic Monkeys. Found them through my own channel, which was really cool to kind of be like, whoa, this is a cool band. What that felt like when I first heard their songs, I just felt like shook it. When I was younger, I probably didn't understand just how meaningful like the lyrics or things that the artist was thinking about when writing it were until as an adult. Because sometimes when I re-listen to those songs, I'm like, wait a minute, I finally get it. And sometimes it'll take me like a few listens or it comes back to me when I least expect it in my life. I feel like it's rare when I find albums that like hit all the marks. Ultraviolence by Lana Del Rey, top tier for me. That was during my dark period. Like I said, music finds you when you least expect it. Jon Batiste, I totally recommend anything by him. When I first heard his album We Are, that blew me away. And that was like my album that whole year. Back to Black, another one during my dark period. I tell people, you know I'm depressed if all I'm listening to is Back to Black and Ultraviolence. That's when you know, leave her alone for a bit. Or talk to her to make her feel better. So I'm already going on like a whole tangent about this, but finding songs, artists that you immediately just click to is something special, and to not take that for granted. One primary example I'm going to really try to focus on, again, ADHD, focusing is hard, and my cat is doing something right now. Yeah, one primary example I'm going to really focus on right now is my top tier people, the Beatles. Keep getting interrupted by cats. Just know I have 2 of these fur babies. They're separated because they hate each other. So they will interrupt me at some point. Crap, I lost my train of thought. But I think the gist is I'm going to start with the Beatles. Anyone at some point in their lifetime will know about this group. It's just one of those groups where you have heard of them, your children's going to know about them. They're just that influential before influencers were really a thing. I don't know. I first heard about the Beatles when my mom she had like a Beatles lullaby CD when I was literally first born. So I basically known them almost kind of like when I was in the womb, I guess. I literally grew up with the Beatles. That's crazy to think about. I would listen to those instrumental songs for like the longest time, probably up until I was about 6, I believe. I never knew that they had lyrics to them. I just knew like the melodies. And at the time, they had this biography magazine that would always kind of come out. I don't know what was really in it. I think it was literally just biographies about famous people. The early 2000s, crazy. But my grandma had a subscription. Yeah, I remember seeing a picture of them in a magazine when they were like young. And I was like, oh, so these are the Beatles. And it kind of helped me piece 2 and 2 together of like that Lullaby album, but then also putting faces to like the title of their band. And it was weird because under each person there was kind of like a little biography thing, and like when they were born. And at the time, George was still alive, which is so weird that I existed when George was still alive. That's, oh, I miss it. Anyway, but at the time, it was like John was the only one that had passed away. And I was super confused because I saw that photo and when he was like really young, and I'm like, how did he die? Like, I was like, what happened? And you know how naive you are as a kid, not realizing people die for, say, like drug related reasons, like the 27 Club. And I didn't know that John got murdered. Spoiler alert for people who didn't know. I remember being sad about that literally for years, and every year I would always celebrate him like crazy, like on his death day or something, because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is when John Lennon died, and and I remember I would ask questions. Like, I had a little tape recorder, which is super exciting to me that I get to like talk about this now over a microphone, kind of like my tape recorder days. And I would tape record my mom and ask her questions about like, so where were you when like John Lennon got shot? And she was like, I remember, because she lived in New York like he did, because my whole family's from New York. So she was like, I remember I was listening to the radio and they interrupted it and said like John Lennon's dead, and she was like, what? And, like, she was just so shocked. She was crying. Yeah, I found out much later what had happened to him, but at least Paul and Ringo are still kicking. They're in their 80s now. Don't say anything to make me think that something bad's gonna happen. I swear, whenever that day happens, I'm not gonna be okay. Because I like love the Beatles so much, I literally became such a Beatle maniac, such a fanatic. I collected anything Beatles merch related. I'm trying to recall the first song I really heard technically, because I got into Ray Charles when I was around 6 or 7. So I think technically the first song I ever heard was Yesterday, but it was Ray Charles's version. Later on in middle school, I really got into their catalog because we got these like compilation sets, CDs, and I was mesmerized. Like, I loved their early music, especially like Eleanor Rigby and like Please Please Me. But I think what really enamored me to love the Beatles on a deeper level was like Strawberry Fields. I was in middle school. What did I know about like feeling depressed and stuff at that time? I didn't know. But something about Strawberry Fields awakens something along those lines. Wow, I do feel things. And to this day, if I do feel depressed, that is the one song that I put in a playlist that helps me think. So that was like the first time I really got into like a deeper space with the Beatles. When I first heard Hey Jude, I cried. It's something about those notes and the chorus at the end where it was like, na 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 na. Like, I felt inspired. I feel chills on my legs right now just thinking about it. It makes me feel so happy, and I think now, especially when I go through hard times, it helps me, again, kind of like a pep talk in a way, make things better. It helps me get out of that funk. So I think a lot of it within their lyrical strengths and chord progressions, and even seeing videos back in the day of them just being silly and goofy made me really love them. Like, they were so witty and funny. They were charming, and they could make good bops. Like, who crafted this? Like, that's why I felt like it made like the perfect joint. So it made me want to like learn so much more about them. I took like a whole course. I'm not even kidding. I took a whole course about the Beatles. That's how obsessed I am. And now I know almost every fact about them. Quiz me on anything, I'll probably answer it. But I just I just love them to pieces, and they are like the core soul of my being. When I was in high school, everyone knew me as the girl that just was obsessed with the Beatles, and some people made fun of me for it, but it's just who I am. They're just a part of me. They specifically helped me find other artists at the same time. Like, here's the bar. They kind of exceeded the bar, so I was trying to like find artists that have that lyrical progression, have stories that really mold things. Any artist, or I'd hope, is somewhat inspired by the Beatles in some point of their life. If not now, they'll get to you. They'll get to you one day. I feel like you just can't not avoid them. Getting to know more music is learning through the Beatles, learning what their influences were, which I just love that when artists have so many different influences. Not even just musicians, but even like photographers. A big one for me was because of the Beatles. I found out about Linda McCartney, and because of her, she is the reason why I do photography. Not me wanting to tear up about it. Her work is just stunning to me. But I think it's the fact that she was an amateur photographer, and then she wound up in these places where artists were at the time weren't even known, and she just photographed the music. I feel like she was kind of like the first of womankind, at least, to pave the way for like music photography. I base a lot of my learning from her work, and just having that eye to see unique moments and to not get caught up in, like pressures from people to be like, oh no, you have to have your style a certain way, you have to blah blah. And I'm sure, I mean, I am aware that a lot of publications need certain criteria to have, I guess, like decent pictures to show their audience. I'll say that. I don't think you should abandon, say, if you have a blur, like, a lot of times I have blurry photos, but then I figure out a way to actually still use it, where it still looks interesting. And I think it's always about trying to keep things interesting. So that's why I, like, really love Linda McCartney's work, and that she even dabbled with music, also with Paul McCartney. I think, like, those key influences in my life, like, because of the Beatles, I learned about this, which paved the way just for me to be able to love the music that they do, grow as a musician myself, but then also as a visual artist too. But this leads me to which Beatle is my favorite Beatle. It always switched around. I think when I first got into them, I was like, oh, Ringo's my favorite because, he's the cutest. Like, he was just naturally just kind of really funny and cute. He sang Yellow Submarine. What more could a kid ask for? As I grew a little older, John was my favorite because he was so prolific in his writing, and you could tell the stories and what was going on kind of behind the scenes in a blunt way. And I think because I used to be really blunt as a kid, I always spoke my mind. Now it's crazy because now I think too much in here and not actually speaking my mind. It's so backwards. He always would be kind of like, here it is, in your face. If you literally look at a cover of him and Yoko, just kind of nude or whatever, it's kind of that same directness, in your face. I'm like, dang, John, I didn't need to see you have morning wood at 10 a.m. today. Thanks. I'm just trying to drink my morning coffee. If you're wondering what picture I'm talking about, you can look it up. It's online. It's not a secret. But at one point, I was like, Paul McCartney, though. he's schmexy. But he also has, like, really fun bops. And I think especially when I got into their solo careers, because I think that's also what helped me determine what was my favorite Beatle at that time, was because of their solo careers. So the first song I heard from Paul's solo career, I distinctly remember it. I was in my den back in the 2000s, and when people actually had cable, like DirecTV, was it Let 'Em In by Paul McCartney and Wings, and I don't know, it blew my mind away. And it took me a second because I was like, wait, Paul McCartney, I've heard that name before. And then I was like, oh, the Beatles guy. Like, because again, I was still young, so probably like 10, maybe. Yes, I remember really loving that song. But it wasn't until high school I really discovered his solo work. Sir Paul McCartney got me into vinyl. And thanks to him, I found a lot of like-minded people that really loved how schmexy Paul McCartney was. So I get it. And I made edits and things like that and made it fun. And we found like a whole community of people that just loved Paul McCartney and the Beatles endlessly. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Arrow Through Me is the funkiest song, like, ooh, it just hits. I totally recommend you guys listen to it. It's such a vibe. And especially a late night vibe. I don't know why specifically a late night vibe, but a late night vibe. If you had to think of the 1970s, Paul's face should be like the first thing you think about. Because I feel like his music is like bop after bop after bop. You can't go wrong. So it makes me feel like nothing bad happened in the 70s. I know bad things happened in the 70s, but I don't know. It just really he had amazing stuff. She will finish this one of these days. Paul McCartney is like one of those artists, or I guess rather my favorite Beatle, that just helps me. Just helps me. I went to see him twice, blew my mind. I wish I could have been one of those people. I was so eager because he would bring people on stage. I wish I could have been one of those people to like meet him and, have like a poster and be like, yeah, sign my arm, I want a tattoo, la la la. Some person at my show that I went to literally wanted him to sign his foot, and I was like, oh, what if it was stinky that day? Okay. Anyway, I genuinely just want to meet him. I feel like I just have like so many questions. And not, like the basic questions, but kind of like the deeper stuff to get to know, like, just how. Just how. He's gotten me through so many hard times. And I think that's it. Like, he serves so much optimism in times when I don't feel optimistic. I want to say like around late high school to college, I got more into George's solo career. His made me feel so calm. Again, optimistic, but just had so much depth to his music. I wish I had more to say about George because I do love George, but I don't really at the moment. Paul's number one. George is probably number two. John's probably number three. Because I get into his music or his solo career at least, not every now and then, but like, I have these peaks of when I really want to listen to John, and then I go ham, and then it just randomly drops off. So I don't know what that is. And then Ringo. But each of them together still hold like a special light in my heart. And even though high school was kind of I can't say that. What in English? It was, I guess it's like anyone's high school experience. It was high school. Meh. It's over with now. It didn't peak in high school. Having the Beatles and then, later on Arctic Monkeys and stuff in my life really set the tone for that time, and I do miss those days when I was like discovering them, because it's like because of them I made friends outside of high school, and that was like the first time I've ever done that. I don't know, and it's amazing, and I'm still friends with some of those people to this day, which is crazy. So I think that's like why I wanted to start this podcast today with about that one band or song or artist or whatever that really set the tone for your life, and the Beatles is that to me. But I'm gonna try to finish this up. Listening to this, I hope that you go out today. Yeah, you should like go find a new artist that you don't know. Or I also recommend, because for me it's been a long time since I've like listened to certain artists. Even Paul, by the way, I used to listen to his stuff all the time. Now I listen to it like occasionally because sometimes I get in my own way and I get in a funk, and I listen to like the same songs over and over, and from different artists, and I need to like go back to the stuff I originally loved because it makes me feel like a human again. Just go back to like a song or artist that you generally connected with. Think about that time when you first discovered them. It makes me like want to cry because I'm like, man, if I could just like relive it again, amazing. I'll probably go on to another tangent episode about like the Arctic Monkeys because that's next on my list. They're my second favorite band. Yeah, I just encourage you to do that today, or go to new shows that you've never been to, because I feel like it helps you discover artists that you didn't know before. Yeah, check out smaller shows. It's not as expensive, but it's really nice. Or go with friends if they're going to see someone you don't know. Now you have concert buddies, and then you saw them before you really knew them. I used to do that with my friend Maria, and I found a lot of bands that I never heard before because of her, and now I listen to them. About when you like listen to your favorite artist for the first time, or a certain song for the first time, I love hearing people's stories about like how they like discovered someone, and it's amazing. Yeah, and thanks for dealing with my crazy. This has been fun. This has been really fun. I like late night talks, and I am a girl to gab all the time, so now I have an excuse to do so without being on the phone and boring people to death. Yeah, I think that's all I have for today. It is 11 at night, and I still have so many concert photos to edit, so I'm gonna go rock on, hip hop, and all that jazz. Bye.